You know, one of the biggest mistakes people make when they start decluttering is jumping straight into everybody else's stuff. The kids' toys, the partner's tools, the family's memorabilia. It feels easier to point to those things than to face your own closet or cabinets. But here's the truth. If you want a calmer, more organized home, you've got to start with your own belongings first. That sets the tone. It shows everyone around you that you're not just making demands, you're actually doing it yourself. And honestly, once people see the difference, they often follow without you having to say a word. So maybe begin small. Look at your dresser drawers, your bathroom shelves, or even just your handbag. Clearing out things that are truly yours gives you instant results, and that's motivating. Plus, it removes that little bit of tension that can come up if you're trying to declutter other people's things without permission. Nobody likes that. Now, before I share more tips, I'm curious, where are you watching from? I love knowing how far these videos travel, so let me know in the comments. Just a little thing for curiosity and to help the video reach more people. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like if it's helpful so far. It really does make a difference. Here's another important thing. A lot of us love to organize, right? Pretty boxes, new baskets, color-coded labels. It feels productive. But the problem is, well-organized clutter is still clutter. You might have a neatly lined row of containers, but if they're all holding things you never use, all you've done is make your clutter look a little tidier. That's why minimizing has to come before organizing. The less you own, the less there is to organize in the first place. Trust me, a half-empty drawer feels so much better than a drawer packed with things that are simply shifted into containers. Think about this. When you're standing in front of your closet and you can actually see every item of clothing without digging around, that's freedom. When you open a kitchen cabinet and everything inside is something you use regularly, it's like a breath of fresh air. You don't have to spend money on bins or shelving when what you really need is fewer items in the first place. That's where the magic happens. Another thing that makes a huge difference is giving each room a clear purpose. It sounds simple, but it's easy to forget. Take your bedroom, for example. Its purpose is rest and sleep. So ask yourself, do the items in your bedroom support rest, or are they working against it? That pile of laundry in the corner, that box of random papers under the bed, the exercise equipment you haven't touched in years, those don't exactly scream restful. Same with the kitchen. That space is for cooking and eating, so anything that doesn't fit those purposes is probably clutter sneaking in. When you start looking at your home this way, the decision making gets easier. That sewing machine you never use, it doesn't belong in the dining room where you're supposed to enjoy meals. The stack of unread magazines in the bathroom, they don't support the purpose of a clean, simple space for getting ready. You get the idea. Can I ask you something? What's the one room in your home that feels the most overwhelming right now? Is it the kitchen, the bedroom, maybe the garage? I'm curious because usually there's one space that nags at us more than others. And that's often the place that needs this define the purpose trick the most. And here's a little encouragement. Decluttering doesn't have to be all or nothing. Even just picking one drawer, one shelf, or one corner can change the way the whole room feels. That little win builds confidence, and suddenly you'll notice you're motivated to do the next area. It snowballs in a good way. The thing is, this isn't about having a Pinterest perfect home. It's about creating spaces that work for you. Spaces where you don't waste time looking for things, where you feel calmer, and where you're not surrounded by items that weigh you down. Because clutter really does weigh us down. It takes up mental space, not just physical space. And if you're worried about letting go of things, remember this. You already made the decision once when you bought it. Now you get to decide again whether it's still earning its place in your home. Not everything will pass that test, and that's okay. So start with your own belongings, minimize before you organize, and give each room a clear purpose. Those 3 steps alone will change how your home feels without spending a dime on fancy storage. And once you feel the difference, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Once you've got the hang of starting with your own things and giving each room a clear purpose, the next step is to build momentum. And let me tell you, momentum is everything. If you start too big, like tackling the attic full of decades worth of stuff, you'll burn out before you even make a dent. But if you start small and easy, you get that little rush of accomplishment that pushes you forward. That's why the best places to begin are the simple, everyday spots. Your bathroom, for instance, is usually a smaller room, so you can actually finish it in one go. Toss out the expired medications, the half-used lotions you'll never touch again, the 5 almost empty bottles of shampoo. Suddenly, you've cleared a whole shelf in minutes, and it feels amazing. The same goes for the bedroom, a nightstand full of random items you don't even remember putting there. 5 minutes of sorting can make that space calmer right away. And the living room, just removing the stack of magazines, extra blankets, or random knickknacks on the coffee table can make the whole room feel lighter. The trick is to give yourself quick wins before you go after the sentimental items or the garage clutter that's been collecting for years. That way, you've already built confidence and proven to yourself that you can do it. You don't need to tackle the hardest stuff first, honestly. Why make it harder on yourself than it needs to be? Now, when you get to those tougher decisions, there's a simple set of questions that makes everything easier. Instead of just asking, do I want to keep this? Which usually keeps us stuck. Ask better questions. Things like, why did I buy this in the first place? That one can be eye-opening because a lot of the time the honest answer is, well, it was on sale, or I thought I'd use it, but I never did. Another good one. Would I buy this again today? That's a powerful filter. If the answer is no, then why is it taking up space in your home? Sometimes we hang on to items just because we already spent money on them, but keeping them doesn't get that money back. It only costs you space and peace of mind. You can also ask, what would I use instead of this if I didn't keep it? That question helps when you're looking at duplicate items, like, do you really need 4 spatulas? If you had to pick one, you'd probably always reach for the same favorite anyway. These questions make decision-making so much faster and a lot less emotional. It's not about guilt or regret. It's about being practical and honest with yourself. Now, here's another thing that can trip people up. What to do with the stuff once you've decided it's leaving. A lot of clutter hangs around longer than it should simply because there's no plan for it. You make a donation pile, but it sits in the corner for months. Or you bag things up, but then you're not sure where to take them, so they just end up in the garage. Sound familiar? That's why it helps so much to plan ahead. So, before you even start, pick 2 local charities you'd be happy to support and find out where their drop-off locations are. Then, also find one place where you can take bulk loads, like a donation center or recycling site. Write those down or put them in your phone. That way, when you fill a bag or box, you already know exactly where it's going. No hesitation, no delay. This one little step makes the whole process smoother. Because the goal isn't just to shift clutter around your house, it's to actually get it out of your home. And if you already know where it's headed, it's so much easier to follow through. Can I ask, what do you usually do with the things you declutter? Do you donate them, pass them to friends, or try to sell them? I always find it interesting how everyone has their own little system. Personally, I think donating is the quickest and most freeing option, but sometimes selling makes sense for bigger items. And don't forget, if you're enjoying these tips, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps more people find it, and it keeps me motivated to keep sharing these kinds of practical ideas. So, To recap what really keeps you moving: start in the easy spaces, ask smarter questions when deciding what to keep, and plan your donation drop-offs in advance. With those 3 habits, you'll find decluttering doesn't feel like such a big mountain anymore. It feels doable, even kind of satisfying, like finally crossing something off your list that's been sitting there for years. One of the most important parts of decluttering isn't what you've already cleared out, it's what you keep from coming in. Because let's be real, if new things keep arriving at the same pace, you'll feel like you're on a treadmill. You'll declutter a closet, and a month later, it's full again. So half the battle is actually stopping clutter before it crosses your front door. The first step is paying attention to your shopping habits. A lot of clutter sneaks in through impulse buys. Maybe you're at the store and see something on sale, or you're scrolling online late at night and click add to cart. Those little purchases don't feel like much in the moment, but they add up fast. One trick that really works is giving yourself a pause rule, like waiting 24 hours before buying something that isn't a necessity. If you still want it after a day, fine, but 9 times out of 10, you'll forget about it. Another thing to watch is freebies. You know the kind: conference tote bags, giveaway mugs, random samples. They seem harmless, but before you know it, they're filling drawers and cupboards. Next time you're offered a free item, ask yourself if you'd actually pay money for it. If not, you probably don't need it. Stopping clutter at the source makes decluttering so much easier in the long run. Think of it as protecting the progress you've already made. You've worked too hard to let unnecessary items slip back in. Now, let's talk about motivation, because keeping it going can be tricky. At first, you feel excited about clearing space, but after a while, it's easy to lose steam. One way to stay motivated is to actually say out loud the benefits you're noticing. Or if you prefer, write them down. It might sound a little silly at first, but it really works. For example, after you declutter your bathroom, say, "Wow, it takes me half the time to get ready now." Or when you finish the kitchen, you might notice, "I can actually find the pan I need right away." By voicing those wins, you remind yourself why the effort is worth it. It cements the feeling of progress in your mind. You can even keep a small notebook for this. Just jot down things like less dusting, cleaning is faster, or I feel calmer in this room. On days when you don't feel like tackling anything, looking back at that list gives you a little push. And here's the thing: decluttering is rarely about the stuff itself. It's about the life you're creating once that stuff is out of the way. Less clutter means more space, more time, and less stress. So when you get stuck, bring yourself back to that bigger picture. Another little tip: celebrate small wins. I don't mean throwing a party every time you clear a drawer, but give yourself credit. Enjoy sitting in your tidy living room without piles around you. Take in the calm of an organized kitchen. Those feelings are part of the reward, and noticing them keeps you going. The longer you practice this, the easier it gets. At some point, letting go won't feel like a chore anymore. It'll feel natural. You'll see clutter for what it is, just unnecessary weight, and you'll be quicker to let it go before it even has a chance to pile up. So remember, keeping clutter from sneaking in is just as important as clearing out what's already there. And reinforcing the benefits, whether you say them out loud or write them down, makes the whole process stick. That's how decluttering goes from being a big project to simply part of your everyday life. At some point, you realize decluttering isn't just about tossing out old magazines or cleaning a drawer. It's really about focusing on the kind of life you want to live. That's the bigger picture. Because let's be honest, nobody dreams of spending their days shuffling piles around or stressing about where to put things. What you actually want is space that feels calm, simple, and easy to care for. That's why it helps to shift your thinking from what should I get rid of to what do I want this room to do for me? Instead of worrying about loss, think about gain. You're gaining time when you don't have to search for things. You're gaining peace when your living room isn't crowded. You're gaining energy when you don't feel weighed down by stuff you never use. And once you see it that way, minimalism stops being just a home project. It becomes a mindset. You start asking, do I really need this? Not only about a sweater or a kitchen gadget, but about your schedule, your commitments, even your habits. That's when things really change, because you're being intentional in all areas, not just your home. Now, that doesn't mean you need to live with bare walls or 3 plates in your cupboard. Minimalism isn't about strict rules. It's about surrounding yourself with what truly adds value and letting go of the rest. For one person, that might mean a very simple home. For someone else, it might mean keeping a collection they genuinely love, but letting go of everything else that doesn't matter. It's personal, and that's the beauty of it. When you think about it, clutter is just stuff that's standing between you and the life you want. The less of it you have, the more room you make for the things that really count, whether that's family, hobbies, rest, or simply enjoying your home without stress. And here's something worth remembering. Progress doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have every single room perfectly organized. Even making steady small changes adds up. Each bag donated, each drawer cleared, each unnecessary purchase avoided. That's success. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time to start, here's your nudge. The perfect time is now. Grab one bag, pick one corner, and just begin. The rest will follow. And if you found these tips helpful, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like. It's a simple way to stay connected, and it helps me keep bringing you more ideas that make homemaking a little lighter and more enjoyable. At the end of the day, decluttering isn't really about the stuff. It's about creating a home that feels good to walk into, a home that supports your life instead of draining your energy. And the best part, once you experience that, you'll never want to go back.